戦争は変わった。一つの時代が終わり、俺たちの戦争は終わった。
War has changed. It's no longer about nations, ideologies, or ethnicity. It's an endless series of proxy battles fought by mercenaries and machines. War and its consumption of life has become a well-oiled machine. War has changed. Verified soldiers carry algorithmic arms, manipulate social influence, AI enhance and regulate their timelines. Memetic control, information control, emotion control, battlefield control. Everything is monitored and kept under control. War has changed. The age of deterrence has become the age of control, all in the name of averting catastrophe from weapons of mass destruction. And he who controls the battlefield controls history. War has changed. And when the battlefield is under total control, war becomes routine.
Think outside the cage.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. See, there's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is May 11th, 2026. We are live to tape on episode 939. And today, PSYOPS clock. We're signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil, and you are not crazy.
And my name is Gonz, at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit films and author of Prophecy Without Panic, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It's Monday.
Gary, what day is it? Monday. Monday.
And I hope everybody had a wonderful Mother's Day yesterday. There's some Nephilim stuff going on, UFO releases last Friday, pretty busy weekend. My daughter had a birthday over the weekend. It's also National Twilight Zone Day today.
Oh.
So, that's something to consider with the world going insane. And at the same time, National Eat What You Want Day. So I will go ahead and have my scoop of ice cream later.
Okay, guys. Okay, guys.
Get this. I thought this was the most interesting. The day after Mother's Day, it's National Women's Checkup Day.
I mean, that tracks.
That tracks.
Yeah.
They get spoiled on Mother's Day, and then, they got to go get checked out the next day to make sure, things are.
Well, they put it that way. So, mothers who have like an empty nest or something, they have somebody to drive them to their appointments the next day.
Sure.
So,
okay.
Bonding experience. Yes.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Goodness gracious. This weekend, it was there's some to say. There seemed to be two different dimensions existing at the same time over the weekend. In one dimension, it was a quiet weekend filled with phone calls and lovely afternoons with people's mothers, and not a whole lot getting thrown into our faces. On the other side of things, people are, turned entirely upside down, inside out, and maybe even back in time. So a very fun sort of dual experience. For me, it was a little bit more of the chill one, Gonz. It sounds like yours was similar.
Yeah, I mean, chaotic, but not in like the world news way, like a lot of family stuff going on. So there's always something to do, people needing things, stuff like that. But
yeah,
in terms of the news, Friday was kind of nuts. I will admit, Friday was a little crazy because of the release of the first drop from the government.
Was that really? We have not had a show since the drop. Dude,
have not.
I
It was
fell
Friday.
into a full this is so bizarre. I
Yeah,
could have
you're psychosis.
sworn that we had covered the drop already.
No, it's because we did a little spot on L.A.
Oh,
Marzulli's show.
that's
probably what
why.
you're feeling.
Okay. Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Keep an eye out, folks. We got to reconnect with our buddy L.A. Marzulli over there. I don't know what's going to happen with that interview episode. I don't even know how he puts his things out, but it'll be great. But yeah, long story short on the UFO, that is so funny, Gons. When we were setting up this this episode, I was under the impression that we had already covered all the alien stuff.
I kind of got the feeling because you were very kind
I
of
was over
dismissive
it.
of the whole thing. Yeah, and I did mention it a few times, but I don't think you caught on.
I'll give you a long story short with the alien stuff, folks. This is nothing we haven't seen before. Anybody trying to make a big deal about the alien drop, they probably make their money from advertising. Okay, I'm just gonna say it that way. Pretty polite.
It's true. Or from potentially some interest groups that might have.
Well, I'll say this
cash
because there's again two different dimensions. On one hand, you got people really making hay with the alien drops. The other side of it is people saying this is nothing. There's nothing here. We've already seen all this stuff, and I would say there's one perspective that's kind of left out of the conversation. Because again, I think to make hay about how there's nothing in the drops also sort of ignores the fact, I think it was from the mouth of Trump. I could be mistaken. It could have been somebody else at the White House. But basically, from the mouth of Trump, he said, we're going to start releasing the files. It's going to come in batches. The first batch is coming soon, but then it'll be, some time after that. And they basically outright said, like, this first batch, don't worry, there's secrets. It's not going to blow your mind. Maybe it was Burchett who said that or something.
I think it was Burchett, yeah.
So I wasn't expecting anything. They basically told us not to expect anything exciting with the first drop. Oh, but that second drop. When that second drop,
what's funny is that immediately after the drop, the big thing was, well, this one doesn't contain the big one. This one doesn't contain the wow moment footage.
Right.
That's coming. Yes. So they put a new carrot out as soon as they dropped this first one. It was like, okay, well, let people digest the first one. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit more later, but I did find it interesting that it was war.gov/UFOs releasing it and not aliens.gov. I thought it would be aliens.gov. But yeah, it would suggest that maybe this is a national security threat. I saw Alex Jones immediately pop out and say they're gonna fake an alien invasion and they're gonna blame demons or I don't know. So there was some narrative going on with that. So it's all narratives all the way down. It's all psyops. Everything's a psyop. You're a psyop, Basil. I'm a psyop. We're all just psyops.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was fun once you got over the first crest of the wave of the alien disclosure. Then right behind that one, you had to hold your breath again because the Hantavirus psyop comes crashing down. And I wanted to start out the show today because often, Gons, in our own little online bubbles, even if we are trying our best to stay conscious and aware that every single thing we come across online it's there for a purpose, okay? You're not coming across anything accidentally. If your algorithms have you moving in one direction or the other, if there's one sort of perspective that's dominating, doesn't matter what it is, what the ideology is, it's, it really is the closest thing to a literal matrix. Everybody's talking about simulation theory or the matrix or whatever, and whether or not that's literally true or not, if you are getting your worldview and perspective, which we all do, getting our news, our understanding of what's going on around the world. If you're getting it from the internet, it is just a beautifully mathematically crafted image to give you a certain perspective that you have been chosen. You have been chosen for. And there's the only reason, I mean, one of the main reasons you've been chosen for it is because you've been deemed susceptible. You've been deemed susceptible to this angle or the other. And like you say, Gons, it's PSYOPs all the way down. Now, will be, I do not use social media much at all. I'll be on Twitter here and there. Instagram, I basically have not touched for a long time. But over the weekend, I had some nice, sunny Mother's Day afternoon, which of course means I went on Instagram. And I was actually pleasantly surprised by what's the word? By my discoveries, I guess. Now, again, admittedly, whatever the matrix robots, the algorithmic, demons have deemed me to be susceptible to, that's what they give me. But for once, it actually gave me some hope, Gons, because I think the kids are going to be okay. And this post came across my desk because I only go on Instagram at my work desk. And I think this is a vibe that a lot of people, I think it's good. Somebody out there might think I'm making fun of them, but I think this is a very healthy place that this very popular Instagram is getting so much traction. And, I think it's an opportunity for all of us to look inside, look at our own understanding of the world, and ask ourselves this question.
Oh, that was the beginning of the. I thought that was okay. Sorry, I thought you were gonna actually say it. Here we go.
Was I psyoped?
No.
I think I was psyoped. Dang it. I think I was psyoped. Was I psyoped?
Pure art coming from the kids these days. For those who are just listening, this is a young man. He's walking out in nature. He's standing on a hill. He's pensively looking at the horizon as the sun is setting, having a very peaceful time. And the thoughts dominating his inner monologue: was I psyoped? I think I was psyoped. And we look around.
I think I was psyoped.
We look around. And I think a big part of now we all should feel this every once in a while. Okay, it's healthy. The fun part is you look at the comments of this particular post. There's some people really laying it on thick, but the general idea, the general sentiment is, yeah, dang it, we got psyoped. And you read and you read and you read, and you try to catch some some maybe context clues, like what psyop are they talking about? What side of the political spectrum are they on? What, I don't know. Because of course, they're using the phrase psyop. So you think maybe, they maybe listen to this show or be in sort of a similar bubble or something. But the comments really reveal that it doesn't matter what your politics are, what your ideology is. It doesn't matter which psyop you are on whatever side of. Everybody's pretty much in agreement. Oh, yeah. We all got pretty psyoped there.
Yeah, this is Wolf Lord 5000, by the way, if anyone's curious on the
very
Instagram.
Cool.
The
Very
Wolf
cool.
Lord 5000.
Wolf Lord 5000.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose, it's not untrue that it seems everything that we are born into. It's almost like psyop is a contemporary colloquial term for fallen world. Like the kids are realizing we live in a fallen world, And it's not hip to say fallen world or like
Yeah,
sin
oh,
for the
no,
world is forgiven
I
us.
think that's it. There's sort of this broad, and it's funny because, of course, we are living through these trends live, and we have gotten pretty good at identifying them as they're happening.
Yeah.
And once this kind of piece of content reaches like mass popularity, or it's so applicable no matter who you are, just the very, I mean, in a very sort of clinical meme sense, right? This did I get psyopt as sort of like a basic unit of cultural genetics. Basically, it doesn't matter who you are, but it's there. And it's become such a ubiquitous term, this term psyop, and this really only reached maximum I guess penetration or maximum saturation maybe in the last 6 months to a year. I think it's more like 6 months. I'll be generous and say, up to a year. And as I continued to surf the waves, man, ride the waves of the algorithms and just see what's going on the Instagram, which is a wild place. Honestly, I think at this point, Instagram is way wilder than X. Maybe that's just me. But then I came across an article, Gons, that gave me even more insight into the sort of psyop culture. Okay, now stick with me, everybody. We are going just a little bit deeper than just the headlines. We're going to get to the headlines, but this helped me understand a little bit more viscerally where mass culture is, because of course I live off the grid. I barely am around people. I of course get my access to the outside world primarily through the internet. Thankfully, I have Christ, and so there's sort of an inoculation against the veil that often gets pulled over all of our eyes at one time or another. And so, work very hard to continuously question the assumptions and the things that I know, which I know a lot of our listeners do as well. You cannot have made it down the Canary Cry rabbit hole very far without having a sort of intimate collision with questioning not just what you know, but why do you know and how do you know it? And this is really, thank God.
I've described it on X as a moment, like an epistemological crisis moment for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, how do we know what we know? And it's interesting that you even mentioned this, and we're going to talk about this, and you'll get into this article in a second. But I think a lot of that started with conspiracy culture just in general, because it caused people to step outside and go, wait a minute, everything I've been taught is a lie. And everyone has that moment. For me, a big one was the flat earth topic.
Sure.
We went into our interview with, I forget the guy's name. We did it in 2014. And, we kind of did it as because people were asking us to do an interview about about flat earth. So we did it. And we were I remember us chuckling like, yeah, I guess we'll just do it. We'll see what happens. And by the end of the interview, I walked outside. I don't know about you, Basil, but I stepped outside to walk my dogs. And I was like, where are we right now? Are we, am I on a flat earth? Like, I had that crazy moment of like, oh my goodness. So that sort of emotional questioning of knowledge, where it comes from, is really disorienting. And thankfully, if you have the word, you have God, you can kind of lean on that. And I guess some people lean on the flat earth topic as the thing that's leaned for God. But in terms of just that moment, it's reached a younger generation, much quicker than I think it took a while for us to.
And here's why, I think, because a couple things. Number one, you pointed out, yes, conspiracy culture, of course, even I would say especially old school conspiracy culture, that's very much a part of it. You cannot exist for long without questioning all of your assumptions and how and why those assumptions exist, how and why you can even know that you know something, etc.
Epistemology.
The other part of it is, that's also called theology, right? And so of course, being Christian, finding Christ, even just being interested in theology in general is another practice of epistemology, like you said. Because it doesn't takes you 15 minutes in theology land to have everything that you think you know about the world be questioned, even stuff that maybe you've known for a long time, and even two dueling masters of theology that when they come together to discuss something, it oftentimes sort of generates more mystery than it does answers, because that's kind of just what it's like pursuing the creator of the universe. If it did not make you question everything, that I don't think it would be very effective. So you have theology and conspiracy theories, two incredibly epistemological topics. And what have we been seeing swell in popular culture, especially with young people, over the past few years? That is conspiracy theory stuff, thanks to COVID, woke a lot of people up that way. And then the sort of strange inflation of interest or revival in Christianity over the past year or two. And both of things have come together to create a mass popular culture. Just in case there's anybody out there who might be similar to me, maybe it's an age thing, maybe it's just a social thing, maybe you live far away. We can often live our entire lives pretty disconnected from, kind of experiencing mass popular culture with everybody else. Again, how do we even know what mass popular culture is, et cetera, et cetera? Well, here is a totally unrelated article coming from The Atlantic, okay? Every one of these details I'm going to tell you is going to be very important if you want to come with me on this journey of understanding just exactly where we are. Not you and your ideological bubble, not you and the types of people you follow on social media, but a real broad high watermark for where things are at. And this, again, is coming from The Atlantic. Thank you. And the headline is "Music's Next Disco Sucks Moment is Near." Okay. So it's this is a music-related, music industry.
Which, yeah, it's good because we often use the music industry as an analogy to the greater societal happenings. So
the music industry is ripe with psyops. Some could even say it might have been one of the first battlefields of psyops, not just in sort of worldly material conspiracy theory sense, but also in a theological sense, right? Going back to the fall of Lucifer, the head musician of heaven. So here we go. Let's get a little music industry in our veins here. It says this. Who wrote this? Spencer Kornhaber. You're scrolling TikTok, Instagram, or one of the many other apps where short form video devours your time. This immediately caught my attention because I had just been on Instagram for the first time in like 6 years. You're scrolling TikTok, Instagram, or one of the many other apps where short form video devours your time. Maybe the app you use to order sushi. It's a hyperlink. I have no idea. I'm not falling into your trap, The Atlantic. I'm not following that link. You come across a stranger doing something amusing while a song plays in the background. A few swipes later, you hear the song again. Now it's in your head. Now it seems like an interesting part of the zeitgeist. You save the song to your phone. So right here at the top, they're talking about how, of course, zeitgeist, which in its sort of original translation, I think is German or something, means spirit of the age. This is culture, mass culture. So, telling the story of how you're scrolling TikTok, you're scrolling Instagram, and you start to be given an impression of what the zeitgeist is. This is how you're staying connected. A question flashes through your mind. Did you just discover new music? Or through the dark arts of algorithmic manipulation, did the music industry just bait a new customer? Now, of course, to a regular Atlantic person reading this, probably wouldn't notice it, but to us here, reading the words dark arts of algorithmic manipulation and music industry in the same paragraph, kind of reeks with the spiritual mechanics of how we know mass popular culture is controlled through things like occult ritual, through symbolism, of course, now includes algorithms and the music industry. So a strong start. Quite possibly, let me give you the last thing. Did the music industry just bait a new customer? Quite possibly the answer is the latter, in which case you've fallen prey to trend simulation. The marketing tactic of paying people online to post opinions they don't necessarily hold, endorsing music they don't necessarily care about, so as to trick social media algorithms and users into regarding a band as more popular than it really is. Now,
how do we get our music into that algorithm that people use to?
Well, I'll tell you how.
I'm sure the paychecks are great from ASCAP. Some of these people that are putting their music on there.
Okay, yes, very good. Don't slow me down here because I don't want to get tripped up. Okay, so quite possibly the answer is the latter, in which case you've fallen prey to trend simulation. Now, I just told my story about going on Instagram, finding this. Did I just get psyoped? Is psyop? And you better believe the next hour or 5 hours that I scrolled through this.
5 hours? You scrolled 5 hours?
This message continued to be delivered, right? This message of psyops, this message of, hey, we all get it. It's all psyops all the way down. I'm going to show you some other stuff here in a moment. But this writer, while it's talking about music, right? It's all about music and how music is spreading. But throughout this thing, keep in mind, and I know many of you are probably already doing this, but whenever you hear, whenever they speak of music or bands or something, you can literally replace that with anything. Replace it with news, replace it with politics, replace it with conspiracy theory, replace it with and perhaps even theology, as we talked about with the Daily Mail suddenly putting out the Great Deception theology to all of their readers. And of course, theology, another one of these huge social media trends that you can't get away from anymore. Okay, trend simulation, they mention here. Now, it is dawning on me, and I am now well aware of my experience with the PSYOPS enthusiasm, the PSYOPS knowledge, could very well and probably is me falling prey to trend simulation. The marketing tactic of paying people online to post opinions they don't necessarily hold, endorsing music they don't necessarily care about, so as to trick social media algorithms and users, notice those are two different things, into regarding a band as more popular than it really is. The practice became, before that, in regarding a band more popular than it really is. Just a mention, because I've got some people that I love in my life, and they are, let's just say, deeply committed to the New York Times, right? We know these types. I mean, so committed that last time I saw them, one of them was wearing a New York Times hat.
I was about to say, did they have clothing on that represented the New York Times? That's next level.
He was wearing the New York Times hat, and he was obviously very proud of it. And actually, I thought it was kind of funny. Like, I think it'd be funny if I wore that hat. But he was very earnest, and I could tell he was very earnest because there was a baby in the place that we were at. And this guy with the New York Times hat goes, "Oh my gosh, it's a baby." And he goes up to the baby and he's coochie-cooing the baby and he grabs the baby's hands and he said, "You're going to grow up to be so big and strong and you're going to read the New York Times because that's where all the good politics." He's literally saying these words.
Oh my goodness.
Good liberal politics.
Did you stop this psyop? This baby is being psyoped into lies.
Stunned. I was stunned. And I mean, it was amused, right? I mean, it was offensive, not because of the politics involved, but just the the brainwashing of the child as a baby. Like, not like you're gonna be a good person and whatever. It's no, you're gonna read the new. That's what he was saying, right? In his head, he was saying, "You're gonna be a good person. You're gonna do great things.
You're gonna be an informed person because you will read." The words
coming out of his mouth was, "You'll read the New York Times. You'll have good liberal politics."
PSYOPS.
And I'm just stunned, and I'm thinking to myself, is anybody else hearing this? I'm like really hearing it, right? Because of course there's other people around, but like, again, I'm translating it through my worldview as I'm watching this happen. And I just kind of like turn my head to stare off into the distance to try to not laugh. And
I'm sure you started staring off into the distance.
Right. Did I get psyoped? And I just kind of like almost what's the word? I almost like have to disassociate for a moment to like not crack up. And I just stare in the middle distance across the room. And thank God somebody had also heard this. And as I'm scanning the room, I see they're looking right at me with this face.
Are you going to do something about this? Are you going to put an end to this? You're just going to allow this to happen? What are you doing?
It was hilarious.
You're the guy to do something. Yeah, that's what I would have done.
That's exactly what, that's exactly what was being communicated. And so, okay, where was I? Social media algorithms.
Trend simulation.
Trend simulation. Why did I bring up the New York Times, baby? I don't remember, but it's good.
This is a marketing tactic. People, they
it'll come back. It'll come back. So the practice, okay. So
users and social media, like content creators and users.
Yeah, social media algorithms and users into regarding a band more popular than it really is. The practice became a topic of controversy after a recent Billboard interview in which Jesse Corin and Andrew Spellman, two of the founders of the marketing firm Chaotic Good Projects, bragged about their ability to make any musician go viral. They said they can get hundreds of accounts to rave about an SNL performance or shape what's being said in comment sections about an album. Spellman describes music marketing as an, quote, arms race for volume. One artist hires us and we run 20 pages for them, he said. Someone else will do 25. Corin and Spellman were discussing the matter nonchalantly, but to many musicians and listeners, news of their tactics came as a depressing surprise. The firm, observers noted, has worked with established names, and then they give some names of musicians. The singer-songwriter Eliza McLam reacted to the interview with a viral Substack post attempting to map out Chaotic Good's web of influence. A Wired headline zeroed in on the Chaotic Good client, Geese, to speculate that the young band's success was a psyop. That article caused its own controversy. People really do love Geese's wild-eyed, rawly, thrashing music, and now they're being told they're somehow been duped. I did, by the way, go check out this band Geese. Not for me.
Okay.
Not for me.
What's the style here? Was it like a...
It's just like, it's like millennial music. It's hard to explain. It's like
millennial.
Trying to bring back the kind of 2012 indie millennial thing. But it's very lazy. I don't know. I'm not a fan. Apparently people love it, but it's got people questioning this band Geese. Is it a psyop that people like that music? I'm going to tell you right now, folks, yes. If you like Geese, that's fine. You can like whatever you want. But for this band Geese to have enormous success, pure psyop, and The Atlantic is using the word psyop. Okay. I'm going to try not to get too caught up on this story of this actual the details in here.
Are you going to read his quote from Corin?
Defending chaotic goods practices to Billboard, Corin quoted a belief of Spellman's. Okay, so these are the guys who can they're
make
the
anyone go
psyop,
viral.
the psyop experts. Quote: everything on the internet is fake. Indeed, though trend simulation is recently ascendant in the record industry, it's also just a variation of what's come before. Guerrilla marketing and astroturfing, again, everything you hear, how you can take out the music stuff, put in anything you want, politics, conspiracy theories, ideologies, anything. Okay. So trend simulation is recent, but it's just a variation on what's come before. In a way we would put it, historically. Okay, now let's think back historically. Guerrilla marketing and astroturfing were notorious advertising strategies decades ago. Bots, opaque algorithms, and AI deepfakes have since pushed society into what pundits call the post-truth era. Music was never going to be exempt from our civilizational drought of trust. Okay. So if you look past all the sort of music focus here, what do we have? Post-truth era, drought of trust. You've got historical sort of low-tech versions of trend simulation, but now it's, of course, on overdrive. Says, but trend simulation can't simply be shrugged off as a sign of the times. Rather, it and its backlash could mark the end point of a cultural cycle that's been running at least since the advent of TikTok. Music has survived crises of credibility before, and it's well past time to review what realness means today.
Well, revise, but review also works. Yeah.
Revise what realness means today.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I was just having a conversation with some people at church yesterday, I guess, and there's been a few handful of guitar players that have gotten really popular the last 5 or 6 years, and they're like savant level guitar players, right? They can play crazy stuff. Like they're just, they've been on YouTube. If I had YouTube when I was a kid, I'd be a savant too. They've been watching YouTube tutorials and watching different techniques and all this stuff since they're like 5 years old, and now they can shred. But some of the people that got really popular in the last few years are getting a lot of hate right now because they faked their ability to play. They sped up the footage a little bit. They say it's live, but it's not. It's recorded and edited and stuff like that. And so, people are seeing them, and there's an element of, hey, if you hear something recorded versus you watch someone live, the live always looks and sounds a little bit sloppier than like a studio nice version, obviously. But people are noticing that there are certain individuals who got really popular who cannot play what they can play on YouTube videos, even if it's labeled, live recording or something. Yeah. And so people are having that moment of like, well, we want real talent. We want the real talented people. And so there's kind of like a sheep and goats, or like this wheat and tares moment with all these guitar influencers who can actually play the way they show themselves to play on the internet, and those who can't, who are kind of behind the production value of the video. And so that's really interesting that's trend simulation. It's the same thing. It's happening with the musician industry.
Exactly what you're talking about in the context of music. You can see that. Let's just pick one. The podcasting industry.
Oh,
right.
Yeah,
the podcasting industry.
Oh, should I bust out the list?
We're watching it happen between Tucker and Candace and Fuentes and Ben Shapiro, and this thing. The podcast industry used to seem like a pretty cohesive place, and it's just in the past few months that people are getting totally rattled. The whole thing,
balkanization.
Yeah, and now they call it trend simulation, right? Because when you're talking about music, there's music trends. And if you look at it a different way, put it into the context of like ideology, of worldview, of news, just news or politics, something like that. I mean, you really are getting into the area of reality simulation, because, or you could do perception simulation or something, but people have an understanding, we all do, of like what reality is. We all have our own grasp on what is really happening, right?
Yeah.
But our grasp of what's happening is coming entirely from the same forces and algorithms and processes that are, ripe for this sort of simulation, this trend simulation. So now you have like reality simulation is an inherent part of being on the internet. And, it talks about, let's see here, reality simulation, I'll just do a replacement myself, can't simply be shrugged off as a sign of the times. Rather, and it and its backlash could mark the endpoint of a cultural cycle that's been running at least since the advent of TikTok. And that does seem extremely true. Like, even the method by which we build our perception of reality through timelines and TikToks and this and that, pair this with the sort of painfully obvious, now sort of mass adopted understanding that it's all also psyops. Like, if the music that you find online and like, if that's a result of a psyop, how much more is, again, your politics, your understanding of whatever's going on in the world? You can cut that up into smaller things, like your thoughts on the war, your thoughts on immigration, your thoughts on this, your thoughts on that. And then, of course, included in that, because it's a part of what's very hot right now, is theology. And that's why I think we're seeing in things like the alien UFO stuff, we're seeing the theology injected at every single turn. And, the Atlantic, of course, a good bastion, certainly not as good as the New York Times, but, a bastion of quality journalism and, signaling what a good person thinks about the world. That is sarcasm for those who, I know some people get a little wonky once sarcasm enters the picture here. But, you have, even in a sort of not mundane, but like a low stakes topic such as music and the music industry, you have the Atlantic cannot resist but reflect what we know and what they secretly know, even if they don't want us to know. They're sort of giving away the game here. They want you to just think about it in the context of music, but they're really sort of providing some insight into what they know is going on down to the very, basic current event level. And so you pair this again. Is psyops, a trend? Have I been trend simulated that psyops are so hot right now? Maybe. I'm certainly seeing a lot more normies in normie places and sources discussing even the concept of psyops pretty regularly.
Do people understand what a psyop is? Like, they know it means psychological operation, but do they understand that usually when people discuss it, or at least when we discussed it over the years,
it's all right, man. But from what
so they understand that it's in the context of like a state, or just in a group,
everything
influenced campaign to shape behavior and stuff like that. Okay.
It's full. They're bringing it to the level of epistemology. This is where the incredibly popular, Instagram post of, I think I was psyoped. The breadth of relatability, and that's what I think is interesting, and that's why I think we're sitting at this end of a cultural cycle, right? Because you start hitting a mass
critical mass.
Thank you. You start hitting a critical mass where not just, you know, all people tell lies on the internet, or you can't trust what's on the internet or whatever, but this sort of full epistemological crisis that people are having, that they really can't count on knowing anything, which I think is what's causing this turning back to Christianity, right? This
Yeah.
mirrors what we've seen with all the studies about young people turning to Christianity, of just like, hey, okay, these kids aren't dumb. They're looking around, they're going, all right, I want something real. I need something real. I need something that has an opinion, feels strongly about that opinion, claims to know reality, the whole thing, just the top to bottom stability that comes from finding Christ. And there's been a few times over the past few years, because of course, old timers, you've been hearing me talk about the kids going Christian since about 2023, right? As always, your buddy called it way before anybody knew it. And people still doubt me sometimes. They go, "Well, you don't know what the kids are doing." I don't know any Gen Z Christians. Like, okay, that's not how data works. But okay. And you look for these reflections. Somebody just sent this to me. I haven't watched this show in a long, long time. There's a show called Euphoria. Have you heard of Euphoria?
I've heard of it, yeah.
So Euphoria is this show. It's not for kids. It's barely for adults. It started coming out, must have been, I don't
It
know.
says 2009 or something is what it says.
No. It would have been,
or maybe 2020.
2020, right.
Okay, yeah, 2020.
So 2020, COVID hit, and this show came out that is sort of heralded as like the most in touch Gen Z representation of Gen Z. This is sort of what it's famous for, which is terrifying if you actually watch the show. It's pretty terrifying.
Wikipedia says it's an American teen drama television series inspired by the Israeli miniseries of the same name.
Yes.
Great. Drug addicts and
yes. So yes, it's a teen drama, or it was a teen drama, but it's very hardcore. Like there's lots of drugs, there's lots of everything. Okay. And interestingly, it is a remake of a miniseries that was an Israeli miniseries, and now it's an American series that is highly lauded as like the almost cosmically in touch Gen Z thing. And so it's 2020, it's huge, everybody's stuck at home, it's the whole thing, right? Well, they just came out with another season, and I believe it's the last season. And again, I started watching this show because it was made a big deal in 2020. This is not one that you need to make sure to watch. Lots of incredibly adult themes. You get the point. But the new season comes out, and kind of the premise here is, back in the early seasons, the kids were in high school, 16, 17, 18, whatever. And now it's set and they're in their 20s, mid to late 20s, something like that. And the show is sort of infamous for having the most gritty, high stakes trouble that kids are getting in. Again, from drugs to all sorts of adult things that really push the limits. I don't know if the Israeli miniseries was like that. I have not seen it, but that's certainly how the American one came out. And in this new episode, where the kids are, 25 or whatever, a very big and important part of the storyline, at least from the clips and from what I've read, is these kids struggling with the ramifications of their bad behavior in the past, but ultimately finding Jesus. like this movement towards Christ. Now, it's not necessarily in the way that, a Christian movie would write it, but, sort of a gritty wrestling with these kids, getting into Christianity in a certain way. I might watch it deeper so I could do a deeper analysis.
If it's season 3, it says on Wikipedia at least that it's Euphoria returns with less than some of its parts in a disjointed cavalcade of forced narratives that leave its talented cast stranded in the wind.
Yeah, well, this is probably outside the point. There's a lot of stuff about people don't like it. There's they got rid of a lot of a lot of the producers and the musicians.
Sure.
Whatever. I'm not here to critique the show.
No. But I'm saying that people didn't like it maybe because there was like come to Jesus.
It could be,
even though if it wasn't.
They might not like it because of that, and who knows, writing whatever thing. But even the most like institutional, and I say institutional just in that sort of entertainment type of way, are reflecting where I think a lot of these Gen Z are is at this inflection point of, okay, we've been living pretty hard, and there's this Jesus and God thing available to us, and what do we do about that? And again, you got to say, well, it's the most popular show, et cetera. Trend simulation, reality simulation. Is all of this just a big psyop to make Basil think that, people are turning to Christ? I don't know. It's possible. But again, let me show you. Okay, this whole thing's getting a little just disjointed, so I'm going to lay in the plane. Back to Instagram for a moment. There is a category on the topic of psyops. There's a category of influencer that's gotten really big lately. And these influencers, they are American young people who now live in China. And they make endless amounts of very, high quality, with air quotes, whatever that means, popular viral content that is explicitly pro-China, and they'll get kind of deep. They're kind of heady, like they're kind of theological. They're pretty philosophical. Like there's a lot of deep thinking here. And they'll talk about, hey, America has had a long history of propaganda, and they'll tell the truth about where propaganda came from. They'll talk about Edward Bernays, and they'll talk about this sort of stuff, and then they'll say, here in China, yes, it's a communist surveillance state. Of course it is. I mean, it keeps the streets clean. It keeps the trains on time. I don't worry about getting mugged at night. There's some good stuff about a communist surveillance state. Why China is better is because at least it's honest about its communist surveillance state. And there's dozens of these guys, and they're incredibly popular. Now, one of them is this gal. And you may have seen this gal kind of scroll by here or there. I started noticing her, I don't know, a while back. And she's a gal. She lives in China. She has, I think she was born in America. I don't really know exactly the history of these people. And she's another example of putting these pretty heady, at least from what you'd expect. Gons, you and I, we're old men now. You think I don't know, I was pretty dumb when I was 25. I wouldn't trust any decisions that I would make anymore. And it's easy to forget that, we're in this interesting part of the cultural cycle where, the kids are thinking pretty hard and they're thinking pretty deep. Now, I will say right off the bat, of course, all of these pro-China American influencers, want everybody to love communism and want them to love strictly speaking, China. And let me just play this one. She does use the SHIT word later on at the end for parents who have kids listening. You can make your own choice there. But this is just, kind of one of the casual types of highly popular content scrolling by.
And who's noticed that there's something weird about the algorithmic push in occultism and eschatology. You've seen this guy. In the 1950s, the CIA began psychological warfare on the public. They figured out how to disseminate propaganda through pop culture, memes, the news, celebrities, bread and circus to contain ideas that threatened the US empire. And they were designed to look organic. Now, the astronomical rise in platforming of figures like this should trigger your spidey senses. You can call it controlled opposition. They're not necessarily planted by the ruling class, but they are platformed. These figures identify real patterns and pain points in the system, however, fail to identify the system. They point to elements of it, secret societies, theology, grand conspiracy, but not its core, which is that power is resource control. It always has been and always will. Rather than investigating the system that allows for resource accumulation, they come up with comic book villains. They default to abstractions of good and evil. The role of these figures is to absorb and neutralize, pretend calling it the working class, and the ruling class would be a threat to the order. Calling it Jews or immigrants or Satanists removes your responsibility. Class conflict is transmuted into intrigue and sensation. Your role in dismantling it is erased. Your energy dispersed. You think you're up against secret forces of darkness, when in reality you're up against a collection of unfit old losers who eat and shit and, most importantly, die. The only one.
Okay.
And for those who are listening, the style of the thing is very high. Why are you moaning?
Because it's the delivery is extremely sort of.
I know Gons hates the way Gen Z makes their voices overlap. It's fine, Gons.
Well,
okay, you can be
it's
old
like the delivery of the whole thing.
Focus.
It's like a psychosis. It's its own. I think it creates a level of like
Gen Z kind of slop kind of vibe, right?
Okay,
So
right,
to describe it for those who are just listening, it's this again almost hypnotizing mix of like corny classic TikTok thirst trap. You're just pretty girl looking at the camera, riding a bike, just kind of random, again, almost hypnotic pacing of her voice overlapping. And then interspersed in the whole thing is like archival footage of propaganda films.
Communist Russia.
All this commie imagery, all this American imagery, very black and white. And then this specific one, she is addressing to her millions of followers, hey, you may have noticed that the algorithms are pushing occult and esoteric content. This is real big.
Occult and eschatology specifically.
Specifically eschatological, which means, this the end of the world, this study of the end of the world.
That's our little niche that's been taken over by this gal here.
Right. Our crisis, our identity crisis has always been Gons. Hey, what the heck? Suddenly, eschatology and occult is like the coolest thing that anybody can talk about. And what are we, chop liver? And so specifically addressing to her millions of followers, like, hey, you may have seen a lot of occult and eschatological content. Interesting, huh? Well, let me tell you about the history of propaganda in America, saying, hey, there's a PSYOP going here. The PSYOP machine is pushing occult and eschatological content on you. Isn't that interesting? Why would they be doing that? And it's funny because with all these commie influencers, the big point they think they're making, like this great point, is no, it's not a bad group of people. It's the system. That's how you know look, I'll rant about the system all the time. But they'll say, like, you're not helping anything. They keep you distracted because whatever of immigrants. Notice how they didn't say they keep you distracted by hating MAGA, or they keep you distracted by hating Republicans, right? No, they keep you distracted by hating immigrants or whatever. And so you've got just the most complex, layered psyops. She's like, hey, you may have noticed there's a PSYOPs with eschatology and the occult. Well, let me tell you, that's a PSYOP. As she is the pro CCP influencer, PSYOPing the PSYOP on the PSYOP.
Riding the trend simulation, getting massive millions of views on Instagram, getting pushed in the algorithms by the Dark Lords or whatever.
All
hey, wait a minute.
All while. And this, and this is incredibly popular. It's just like, this is a thing. Like the hive mind, it's like once people caught on to PSYOP, right? We worked for years, Gons, to be able to identify PSYOPs just when you see them, right? Even all through COVID, like that was still obviously the mission, and people were starting to learn when you read this, when you see this, when they say this, that's how you can spot it. And people have gotten really good at spotting their own PSYOPs, which is a reason that shows like this are less popular across the board. Shows like ours, not just the weird fringe Christian ones, but even, the more mainstream ones. Listenership, advertising dollars, everything is down, because we're reaching this end of the cultural cycle where people are pretty good at spotting their PSYOPs. Problem is, and this is why it's really impressive that you and I and our listeners can stay sane, Gons, thanks to Jesus Christ, is because once you have the ability to spot a PSYOP when it passes your view, you realize there's a PSYOP every single second of every single day, no matter which direction you look. If you're on the internet, pure PSYOP, baby. Even if you're, the pastors in the secret CIA meeting was a great example of this, right? A lot of people, hey, look, the intelligence told these pastors what we already know. We already know the great deception, and the government's getting the pastors to do this. Turns out that entire story was not what it was made out to be at all. PSYOPs on PSYOPs on PSYOPs, which brings me back to the original post that I brought at the beginning. And suddenly this content, you can feel the collective sigh of relief that the entire internet took just a second to breathe when this piece of content finally said, I think, what everybody's really not just afraid to say, but afraid might be true, because epistemology is very difficult. And maybe we can just take take a moment, folks, take a couple deep breaths as we ask, I think I was PSYOP.
I think I was PSYOPed.
Oh, that was the clip you got. That was a clip. Play the video, man. Play the whole thing.
I gotta open the video. I closed it already because I.
Oh, jeez, Louise. How are we gonna make it through, folks, with the PSYOPs?
Yeah, you PSYOPed me into closing the thing. Now my browser is PSYOPing me by not working. I'm clicking on the link.
Do it silently. Do your work silently here, because I think it is very important. There's a very important message in this particular piece of media, because as anyone who has spent time being overwhelmed by the insufferable infinite layers of PSYOPs, there is a good message here, which is go outside, stand in the grass, and just ask yourself, was I
PSYOPed? I think I was PSYOPed. Dang it. I think I was PSYOPed.
Dang it.
Was I PSYOPed?
Okay.
Dang it. I think I was PSYOPed. I'm not going to point any particular PSYOP out or point anybody else out, but if more of us ask this question, I think things would be great, especially Gons after this weekend with the ding dang alien disclosures.
Oh, the ding dangs, yes.
Were made by the aliens.
The alien conversation.
Rami in the chat says, realizing you got psyoped is the first step to recovery.
It's true.
We've got to do a 12-step psyop program. Psyop recovery.
Aliens.
Well, before we go on to aliens real quick, I was kind of thinking about what the next step is, because if all the young kids are realizing everything is a psyop, I think we've already started to see we watched the dismantling of centralized media, especially news organizations. It's, like old school centralized authorities in media for the message has been dispersed in a sense over the years. And of course we saw many of the talking heads disperse themselves as well, going to different outlets and things like that. But, now that they've, I guess, decentralized in a sense, now there's like different silos and different groups and different things. We're in a balkanization, which I think is more than just a decentralization. A balkanization is where these different groups and ideas formulate into their own little clumps and they're hostile against each other. That's kind of why it's really difficult to just call out like, oh, they're all conservatives. Well, within conservatism, there's all kinds of different camps. There's your anti-Israel people that think the anti-Zionist thing is the most important topic. There's, people that are holding on to the MAGA thing. There's, Q people. There's like all these different sort of flavors. And I think that's represented very well in the different leadership or podcasts, if you will. Your Tucker Carlson's and your Candace Owens, and there's a few others that are sort of pillars of that movement. But I think even those are falling apart in a sense. They're big right now. But I can imagine that even they will start to lose a little bit of their influential power. And
I don't actually know what you're talking about, because they are totally losing their influence.
Okay, well,
they're in the process of dissolving right in front of our eyes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Ben Shapiro had to lay off a bunch of people last week, and I know that it's not as it's not as big as it was, and certainly yes. But now it's going to trickle down probably into what? I mean, your home churches. I mean, your own families. It's probably like the only place left, right? So it's working from both directions. But that it might be a good thing in a sense, like ultimately we're going to have to come back around at some point to make it into a positive thing. And then that can have its own.
Yeah. God's got it under control, man. I'm not even worried.
I understand that. I'm not worried either. I'm not worried.
Mustache, standing on a hillside, looking at a sunset.
Right. And you really related to this guy. You just channeled.
I can see everything. And
okay, all right, everybody. Basil has finally doxed himself. He's this guy right here.
Because we have spent, and we've done it live on the air. This has been, people are really annoyed with us trying to talk about this again, because we ask our questions all the time of like, okay, what's next? Like we see the changes, we see the thing falling in front of us. The teaching people how to spot the psyop, that's done. Everybody's got it. Like, what are we even supposed to do? This is a question that we ask ourselves all the time. I'm sure all y'all are asking yourselves this question all the time. What is even to be done at this point? And that's where, look, thank God that we have Jesus. Thank God that our primary attempt or desire in this life is to align ourselves with God and with Jesus Christ, because that's the only way that anything's going to get done around here. And, sometimes you wake up and you say, I don't know what you're doing, God, but you got it under control, buddy, and I'm just along for the ride. You show me what you got going on.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm the retracing to the essentials. I think we're retracing to the essential values that existed prior to the internet, right? I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say, is that that's not necessarily a bad thing. That, hey, in person, meeting someone, that's why we've been talking about meetups for 15 years or something. And, just sort of your family, your immediate church community, stuff like that. That's more important than just like, I know everybody sees it, but hopefully the young people see it too, because they're the ones that they're at least making the claims that they're realizing that they're being psyoped as they're
turning to Jesus, man.
Viral,
Gen Z is the most church-loving generation now. They're crazy. They scare me a little bit. They're great.
They're gonna baptize us in lava or something. Yeah, but okay, yes. I guess culturally it makes sense to reveal the aliens and the UFO phenomenon at this time when everybody is ready for it.
You don't know what you're looking at.
What's driving that thing? It's not a space alien.
Aliens. It's unidentified.
And you know what? It's not even just about the aliens. And we've seen the topic come to the forefront in the last few years. It's the Nephilim.
Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Nephilim update.
And we've watched the culture, I guess, intensify the Nephilim topic more and more and more over the last few years. We don't have to reiterate every step of the way, Basil, but I think Nephilim was one of the topics that we brought up, or I brought up with you. I remember in a conversation that really got us talking and having conversations to the point where we thought, hey, we should do a podcast because we're having these great discussions back in 2011 or 2012, early 2012. But now it's just everywhere, to the point where International Business Times has this headline here. Representative Lauren Boebert claims secret government UFO files reveal demonic entities known as Nephilim from the Old Testament. I mean, could you imagine if I told you that the mainstream media will be carrying a headline where a representative from the government is going to be claiming secret government UFO files that get released into the public are about demonic entities known as the Nephilim from the Old Testament? You probably think that I was insane.
Well,
Absolutely
the fun part
crazy.
is, this is how the psyops work, man.
It's a psyop.
Listen up, everybody.
Psyop, Gus.
It's step by step, man. They baby step you into it. They boil the frog in the pot of water because we said that exact same thing when Lauren says, read the book of Enoch. We said the exact same
This
thing.
is different. That was Anna Paulina Luna. Yeah. That's
we said the same exact thing when JD Vance said, I think aliens are demons, right? This step by step, and each one of these things, it just hasn't been like the full, not even to say it's full, but we always think like, holy moly, how could they get it? How could they say it any clearer? Like how could they say it any fringier? What's the next thing? And to bring it all the way to like, yes, Lauren Boebert says they are the Nephilim from and it goes on. They give you the details in the thing. So.
Yeah, it's wild. Okay, so real quick here, this article, we're not going to read through the whole thing, but there's some parts to highlight here. Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert has claimed that newly declassified government UFO files may point to something far older than outer space. Interesting. Older than outer space. Biblical demons known as the Nephilim. Now, immediately you and I were both struck, Basil, by the phraseology here. Biblical demons
it's a subtle
known
thing,
as the Nephilim. Far more accurate for a description than I even see Christians talk about online, about demons or Nephilim or vice versa.
This part might actually still be a little bit new to people. The aliens are demons thing. I think most Christians are pretty on board with that. But even the topic of demons and what are demons and what
are demons then, everybody, all the Christians out there?
And that sort of thing. And by one strain of the research and theology, you ask, what are the demons? Are they the fallen angels? It's quite popular. I would say the most popular for Christians to consider demons the fallen angels. But there's also, a little bit more, I guess maybe scholarly, a little bit more specific thing where demons aren't necessarily at least just fallen angels, but also include the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, right?
Right, exactly. And it would make sense that the flood took out the bodies, these abomination of bodies, which were the Nephilim, which were these giants, these hybrid creatures between angelic divine beings and humans. And I remember Dr. Michael Heiser specifically using the phrase divine beings for the B'nai Ha-Elohim, the watchers, the sons of God, as it says in Genesis 6, about these rebellious sons of God that mated with human women. And he used the word divine beings because the the Bible says B'nai Ha-Elohim, the sons of the Elohim is what they're called. And Elohim has a much richer sort of etymology than simply God, because a lot of people think, oh, Elohim, God, but it's also plural. It can mean gods, like plural gods, and it can mean a whole bunch of other things, spirit of the dead. There's like all kinds of different places where the word Elohim is used. And if the flood took out the Nephilim, the physical bodies, then those spirits reside in the water, in the abyss. And when Jesus cast out the legion, they wanted some bodies to go into. So they went into the pigs. Now, where did the pigs go? Into the water, right? So it's this really interesting through line of
being on this, being this sort of disembodied, because they've been cast out from the flood, from a physical form. And the Bible even talks about how they roam around in the cold and in the water.
Yeah. Well, not just in the water, but in the desert too, which I think is also interesting, because these beings had, if you read your Bible, they existed after the flood too. And God's whole mission with the Israelites early on is to wipe out those tribes, the Rephaim, really the spirits of the dead. If you look at the word Rapha, take those tribes out, the men, women, children, all of them, because they were corrupted in some way. And of course, people don't necessarily think about that when they think about the Old Testament. They think, oh, God was just so evil, he wanted to kill everybody. No, I think they were trying to wipe out some of these Nephilim beings, or spirits, you can call them, that eventually maybe became demons too. So there's demons roaming around in the deserts, like in the Old Testament, the ones that were taken out that's post-flood. And then, of course, a horde of them in the oceans, maybe, kept away from most civilized society, or maybe hanging out with dolphins, Basil. I don't know. Maybe.
And for the International Business Times.
Yeah, the International Business Times, to have any reference to any of that is quite impressive, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, again, even more impressive, there's like some subtlety and specificity by them actually saying biblical demons known as the Nephilim. Is whether they meant to do it or not, they may have done it on accident because they just, or who knows, it's International Business Times. That's a pretty
maybe AI is helping them now.
Well, it's a pretty intelligence connected organization. So, PSYOPs on PSYOPs and PSYOPs, but to have that really subtle, again, kind of fringe scholarly discernment, discrepancy, whatever it is, calling the demons known by their name as the Nephilim, the disembodied spirits of the offspring of the sons of God mating with the daughters of men, is so specific and so subtle. It's very impressive. But that's not.
So they talk about. They talk a little bit about this whole thing. We'll play the clip from Boebert in a second. But there's another section here right underneath where they talk about what Boebert talked about. She mentions the following. Well, should I play the clip first? Maybe I should play the clip and then
we'll give this thing, because
okay. I guess we're talking about it already. So it says here, the Nephilim appear in Genesis 6 of the Old Testament, described as powerful figures born of unions between divine beings, there it is, and human women. Their corruption is traditionally interpreted as one of the catalysts for the Great Flood. Boebert did not cite any specific document. Yeah, I know.
What?
I know.
You know how long we all had to work, folks, to actually clarify that the Great Flood was not because people were being mean to Noah? My entire life as a Christian, this was, again, Gons, you talk about like what's been our mission for a long time, since the beginning, 2012, to talk to anyone, any Christian, to say, hey, actually, God flooded the earth, not just because like people were mean to each other, and he said, don't be mean. And then they were mean. And so God, the mean God of the Old Testament, killed everybody because they were mean. No. Years, a decade or more of podcasting about these biblical subtleties that God didn't just drown and kill everybody because they were being mean. He had to start over when the adversary wiggled his way in. The rebellious angels wiggled their way into the DNA of creation. Hello?
Yeah.
Any more fringe and detailed and subtle and not wrong description of biblical theology exist in any other mainstream outlet? No. It is.
Listen to
every time I thought they can't do another high watermark, they do it. It's blowing my mind.
listen to this sub headline here within the article, or subtitle, I guess, from International Business Times. Portals, demonic entities, and limits of released files. Excuse me, portals, demonic. Okay, all right. We're doing Face Like the Sun on International Business Times now.
I do love the last paragraph of the one that we were reading. I want to, last sentence of the paragraph that we were just reading. Can you go back
one we were
up
just
to
reading?
Genesis
Okay.
6? Let me just read it just clean because it really hits hard. The Nephilim appear in Genesis 6 of the Old Testament, described as powerful figures born of unions between divine beings and human women. Their corruption is traditionally interpreted as one of the catalysts for the Great Flood. Boebert did not cite any specific documents from the release files to support her interpretation. Thank you. Thank you.
Here's the exact way, like the best scholarly description of this whole Genesis 6 Nephilim fallen angels account. But Boebert, she didn't really use the documents to affirm.
It's not in the files. The CIA didn't put it in the files. It's like the Epstein's files too. Like, no, he didn't do that. That's conspiracy theory. It's not in the files. So, worst possible version of what we know happened didn't happen.
You know what I think also is a little bit more disturbing in terms of if we think about the Epstein files and its release, right? And the common trope you see out there now is like, oh, they released the Epstein files and nothing's happened. No one's been arrested. In fact, they redacted stuff. The stuff in there is so bad, they had to start a war and they had to release UFO documents, right? That's kind of the common trope you hear. But also, if you kind of step back and think about this critically, they're releasing the UFO files and you have all these congressmen and congresswomen talking, like a lot of influential people in podcasting or whatever, discussing Genesis 6, the Nephilim, the whole deal, and presenting this corrupt bloodline narrative. Now, what's the commonality between this ancient corrupt bloodline narrative of the Nephilim and the worst of the Epstein stuff? Because Epstein stuff is traffic girls. That's terrible. But what's sort of like the really bad stuff, the really weird and gross stuff with Epstein? It's this whole transhumanist thing. It's the whole like trying to preserve his genetics type thing, right? And the commonality I see anyway is this: it's a narrative, and certainly we've interviewed people that have investigated these topics much deeper. But it's this topic of modern day quote unquote aliens having a hybrid program with humans. And creating this race of people who may be among us already, right? People talk about that. It's like they're probably here. They're probably among us already.
The original issue with the Nephilim and the flood is the corrupting of the image of God,
right?
The genetic tampering, and so that's a great point. I see the point you're making now. Yes, there's like a battle between the Epstein files and the UFO files. Is one distracting for the other? Is they, as is how they keep us running around in circle, keep stringing us along? No, they're connected. I mean,
they're way connected.
And if not connected sort of directly in a modern sense, they all stem from the same biblical history, right? It all goes back to the original spiritual battle of the adversary, the devil, being so cast away, being so disconnected, so impossibly separated from God or anything that is God's, that he has to wage a genetic war on humanity for his own purposes. It happened at the flood, happened in the Nephilim. It's a big part of the UFO thing, and it's a big part of the Epstein thing too.
And this is why they're probably trying to roll out another pandemic, because the pandemic aspect of it furthers the, hey, we need a societal level genetic progression. You need your shots. You need your this. You need it kind of brings the conversation forward and pressures all of us to, not us, you and I, but like the society as a whole, to kind of consider like, oh man, our genetics are in trouble. We have this virus that can take us out, whatever. So it pushes that the limits of genetic testing and the science of it all and the medical side of things further and further into the future, which allows for these, you know, nefarious spiritual entities to continue doing what they do. I see some comments in the chat where people are saying like, you know, God wins in the end. Why do you even talk about it? Well, we're commenting on the cultural state of the world.
What do you want to talk about? We're asking ourselves the same question.
I know we did ask ourselves the same question. We did, to be quite honest.
You tell us what to talk about. Okay.
Also, what's up, Anthony H? Anthony H wanted a shout out, said it'd make his day. So
shout out to Anthony
H.
All right.
So all right, here we go.
To do,
we do. Let me
we'll get into the thing.
Let's listen to Lo and Boebert talk about this on a podcast.
God is the creator of the universe. He's never not going to create. So it's always been something in my mind to say, well, how can we be the only ones? Like, God's not going to stop creating just with us. But the more I look into this, the more I see the Old Testament and what was told to us there of fallen angels and Nephilim. I mean, this is in the Bible. There's nothing that says that fallen angels, that Nephilim just disappeared. And so I believe that this could be an aspect of it. You know, there are things that we have seen that could resemble portals. And, you know, I mean, we serve an infinite God, a God of the universe. And to say that this is the only realm is ignorant. And so what I've seen, I wouldn't, you know, put it as, you know, Marvin the Martian kind of thing. But I do believe that this is more spiritual. And if you really want to go there, demonic.
Why were you interrupting her throughout this conversation? What?
Bro, everybody, when I first listened to that clip, I was tripping. I kept hearing what sounded like my voice responding to her in my headphones. And I'm listening to it like, that is so weird. Like for me, I know our audio comes out a little different, Guns, but I'm listening to that and it's kind of like under her voice. Somebody's like, it sounds like me going, right. And I think, man, what in the world? And then I think, dang it. I do that when I talk to people.
I thought you were going to say, I think I've been silent.
Dude, I was tripping when I heard that. Now, Gons, you looked a little deeper. The guy
did. I found
necessarily have I don't know, as much of my voice as I thought, but in that clip particularly, I'm like, did I like black out or did I time travel and podcast with Lauren Boebert? Not even just the like timbre of the voice, but also, yes, the insistent, right? Yeah. The audio encouragement that I can't help but give people when they're talking.
Yeah, this was from AI, Aliens, and Assassination Attempts. What's really happening? Breakthrough hour with, I believe his name is Sean Fucht. I don't know how to say his name. He was like a worship leader. Now he's a podcaster, and he crushes our numbers, Basil. He talks about the really important stuff.
Yeah, well, everybody crushes our numbers.
And everybody crushes our numbers. Yeah, it's not really working out for us. But hey, you know, for Lauren Boebert to bring this up, again, another person in government really bringing this conversation to the forefront and bringing nuance too. It's not just kind of loosey-goosey, like, yeah, the giants or the Nephilim, or, you know, seemingly having some grasp of the whole thing, the whole concept of the Genesis 6 thing. And man, you know, there's a part of me that's, I don't think we're too late, but about 5 or 6 years ago, I was like, we really need to shift our apologetics as Christians to incorporate the supernatural worldview, the stuff that Heiser was talking about, the stuff our people have been discussing for years, because the world is just headed in that direction. And man, it's almost like I do wish we had more of something that we can just hand people. I guess like the Age of Deceit or something like that would work. But it feels, I don't know, at this point in the timeline, I feel like I still haven't done enough to help people along understanding, what's really going on. Because you can understand this, and this is like its own Pandora's box, if you will. Like once you open it and you start looking into it, it's hard to not see this through line with the Bible, but it also brings everything back to Jesus. It brings everything back to his ministry, what he did on earth, why he did what he did, where he did them. And it puts so much depth and meaning into Jesus's own ministry that that's the part that I hope people get to. It's not just like the Nephilim stuff, right? Because the question can be, well, yeah, but why does that matter to Jesus and, God and that kind of stuff? And it's like, well, I think a lot. I think what Jesus was doing throughout his ministry had a lot to do with exposing all this and reversing all of this effect.
Yeah, it was back when we started podcasting and we were told these kind of topics is not kingdom work, right?
It's not kingdom work.
And the thing to miss, and it's easy to miss, and it's not even a salvation issue necessarily. So you can miss it if you want, nobody's going to hell for missing it. But the point is not to get stuck on weird theology that is not in modern churches just because you want to be different or know something more than somebody else or something. Once the picture comes together, even not just the whole Bible, but even Jesus's whole thing takes, you see it in what I would think a more comprehensive and a fuller way, because there's lots of weird little twists and turns, even in the ministry of Jesus, that I've heard pastors, kind of teach around for my entire life. And, that's fine. You're not going to, miss out on heaven because you don't see the connection between something Jesus said or did and the sort of, humanity long genetic battle that the devil is bringing. That's okay.
Yeah.
But it does give a much richer, more comprehensive and deeper view of what Jesus was really even up to, besides what, we see Democrats doing a lot now, besides just saying, be nice to your neighbor. Right. It's very similar to where, like, you see Kamala Harris or some Democrat goes like, Republicans are bad because Jesus said be nice to everybody. So if you're not nice to somebody, then you don't like Jesus. It's like,
okay,
you are what? That's so crazy. But like from the outside, that's all they really know because they don't really know anything. But it's similar into, once this all kind of opens up and you see it, it's like, oh, there was a lot going on there.
Yeah. And it unlocks so much depth with the scriptures as a whole. I know a lot of people want deeper Bible studies. I've talked to people at my church, and their whole thing is like, I want to dive deeper. I want to go in deeper and study certain things and whatnot. And it's not necessarily what you're getting on a Sunday morning, which I understand that as well. I mean, if you're a pastor of a church, you're not going to necessarily jump into the Nephilim on a Sunday because it could be very confusing for a brand new person walking in. Like, what? Maybe not anymore. Yeah, you might be right. Maybe it is time to address it.
Totally different now. If you're a pastor of a church, I think that's
I think you're right. At various level. One more little clip.
Land this plane.
I will. Yes.
So much
I know.
more show to get to.
Yeah. Okay, so this is Representative Burlison from Missouri. He was the one that was mentioned by some of these pastors who had a secret meeting. I think we covered this on Wednesday, did we not? I'm trying to remember. I'm losing my mind because I think I've been psyoped. There was a bunch of pastors that came together not last week. They made it public last week that they had they called it a secret meeting that government officials had attended.
I have to correct you. They didn't go public with it last week. They've been talking about it since they had the meeting in February.
Okay.
The algorithms made
The
it go
algorithms made it
viral
public. Okay,
last
made it go
week,
viral.
months after it happened.
Okay,
Psyop.
okay, fair enough. Okay, so as part of that, and I don't know when this particular clip actually was published, but again, it went viral last week. One of the people that pastors that were there at the meeting suggested that there was even a congressman of that got on the call and told us all this stuff, and it was about the Great Deception, basically. And that congressman pushed back and said, "Wait, I didn't say all that." And maybe he's lying, who knows? But then that pastor had to issue an apology and say, "Sorry, that was my words, kind of mixed in with, what I said was." But this congressman did call in, but he wasn't there, and so it was just kind of this drama that was nonsense and pretty inconsequential. That congressman was Representative Burlison from Missouri, and he was on here with OAN, One American News, and here's what he says about some of this stuff, this disclosure stuff, which I think, purely if you're looking at the message, hard to disagree with.
I'm a Christian. I'm absolutely a born-again believer. I believe that the only way to salvation is through Jesus Christ.
Good for you.
So let me kind of walk you through my personal journey on this.
Okay.
I'm a skeptic. I believe that I'm from the show me state. You're gonna have to prove to me what these are. I'm gonna have to see them for myself in person before I believe anything. That being said, I've often wondered how does this fit with my biblical worldview? Does this really challenge my faith?
Right.
And what I've come to the conclusion is that if you pay attention to what the Bible actually says, not what you think it says, this does not conflict with anything that we believe as Christians. The Bible is very clear. We're not the first creation, that there were entities, part of the heavenly kingdom, the kingdom of God, that were created before mankind entered this universe.
Gotcha.
And the question is, what are those things? I mean, the Bible describes them broadly as angels. It describes some of them as seraphim, some as cherubim. I don't know what those things are.
Right.
And most people, but at the end of the day, I don't want to pigeonhole myself as a believer into saying, an alien comes from an extraterrestrial being comes down, and that doesn't fit the Bible. Well, maybe it does. Maybe that's what the Bible was pointing towards all along. I'm not a theologian, but I'm just trying to say, the more that we as Christians just stick to what the Bible actually says, as opposed to what we believe it says, I think we'll be better off. The Bible doesn't say, for example, the devil, there's nowhere in the Bible where it says the devil has a tail and a pitchfork.
Right.
It doesn't, it's not there. And so start shaking away any kind of medieval version of your interpretation of the Bible, and I think you'll be better off.
What do you think?
This sounds pretty comprehensive.
It's pretty. Yeah. I mean, and again, this is in the context of the UFO files being released, which I don't know. There's a level of, hey, maybe this is its own psyop, right? To sort of bring this discussion to the forefront and make it purely associated with the UFO topic, because it always kind of has been. If you look back, even our beloved Dr. Michael Heiser, who I think a lot of his work is becoming so mainstream that it's become political and politicized. He started at UFO conferences talking about this stuff, so there is a connection there. But I think it's time, Basil. We need to, I don't know, we need to go on a world tour or something.
We don't need to do anything, Gons. We're just
we need to.
That's all we got to do.
Okay, all right.
Everything's great. Everything's wonderful, and this is the longest show in history. It's going to be if we make it through this. But we do need to take a second and thank our executive producers, Gons, because we do not advertise on the show. We're on the value for value model. It's very simple. If you get any value out of what's going on here, there's an understanding. And that understanding is that because we do not allow any corporate money whatsoever to support the show, whether it's advertising, platform partnerships, none of that gobbledygook. We are entirely sustained, A, by the grace of God, and B, by the producers of the show. So produce the show. Go produce now. Become a producer. That's what you are when you come in with your time, your talent, your treasure, whatever way that God has gifted you to bring value into this world. You can do it for the show, and that keeps the show going. It's worked so far. And we'll see as we end this whatever cultural cycle that we're in. Will the value for value model survive, or will corporations gain complete control over what can be said and heard? We're seeing now in the sort of piece by piece dissolution of what was formerly the like independent alternative media podcast space. You got all these people that went every which way to make sure that they would have their advertisers keep their media properties alive. And now we're kind of seeing the winds change, and things are not so smooth sailing anymore. But for us here, if you get any value from the show whatsoever, come in, produce the show. Again, your time, your talent, your treasure. Everybody's got their own thing. You can go to canarycry.support to learn more about it. We got some executive producers who come in. Those are people who support the show for $100 or more for any individual episode like this. Before I thank them, I want to give a big old shout out to all of our monthly producers. Big ups to the monthly producers. If you come in, you support the show month, doesn't matter how much it's for. Again, that's part of the beauty of the value for value model, folks. Just like our dear Lord Jesus Christ and the widow at the temple. When it comes to how much support, how much can we support, whatever. Simply the act of coming in to support the show, no matter how much, how little, is really part of the kind of revolutionary battle against the sort of mammon worshiping corporate theology of the world. This is not a transaction, folks. This is just a bunch of people coming together to keep something alive. So again, big shout out to all of our monthly producers. Executive producers coming in. We got executive producer Sir LX Protocol V2 Baron of the Breen Protocol. Coming in for $100.33.
Thank you, sir.
486 episode streak and 140 executive producer streak. We got executive producer Dame Froggy.
Dame Froggy. Thank you.
Dame Froggy comes in for a nice round number, which is a good reminder. If you come in to produce the show and you produce the show for a nice round number on the 10 or the 5, that's you telling us you prefer we do not disclose the amount. If you don't mind us disclosing the amount, you can put 33 cents on there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 11, 11. You know, have some fun with the number. Dame Froggy says, "Happy Monday, Canary Boys. Love Dame Froggy."
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We got a couple of producers who came in under the executive producer amount, starting with producer Rebecca T.
Rebecca T. Thank you. She
Rebecca T.
Streak, right?
Comes in for 4321, 4321. Thank you, Rebecca. Right. Is on a 22 episode streak.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
We have producer Charmed and Dangerous coming in for what I believe was $7.77 plus fees.
Charmed and Dangerous. All right.
Yep. Charmed and Dangerous leaves a message. Thank you for your work. Thank you, Charmed and Dangerous.
Thank you.
And that is the complete list of producers for today's episode. I got the people coming in under $7.77. If you produce the show for $7.70 or more, you are entitled to have a note read on the show. If you come in under the $7.77, I will be thanking you on Wednesday, mostly because people are keeping big, long streaks going. So thank you guys who do that. And of course, a big old shout out to CageRattlerCoffee.com.
Cage Rattler Coffee, where value for value never tasted so good.
Go check it out, cagerattlercoffee.com. This is coffee by Canarians for Canarians. Somebody said, you know what? We got to keep the show alive. We got to release all the Canarians out there from the enslavement, the entrapment that comes from living in this day and age where, hey, you got to live, you got to drink coffee, you got to do these things just to get up and out of bed in the morning. You might as well have an option to source that wonderful coffee from some place that does not hate you, some big corporation that does not fight against everything that you believe in. And indeed, even better, it goes to support other Canarians just like you folks. And they continue to support the show value for value over there at cagerattlercoffee.com. But it truly is the best coffee. I have it every day. People tell me all the time how good it is. Gons has it as well. So look, if all the Canarians got their Cage Rattler coffee and we were all drinking it every morning, we could take over the world, man. That's how it's done. If nothing else, it's a beautiful way to stand in solidarity first thing in the morning with a bunch of Jesus-loving fringe weirdos on the internet who are just watching the PSYOPs float on down the river, baby. So go over to cagerattlercoffee.com. They got subscriptions, they got sampler boxes. Try them all. Get that Nephilim Hunter Dark Roast, that Emu Wrangler Medium Roast. You're not going to want to miss it. Thank you.
You know, I was just thinking about this. We must be the only brand of, or not we, Cage Rattler Coffee must be the only branded coffee with Nephilim in the title. I can't imagine anybody using it, or at least using it in the proper context. Maybe there's a Nephilim roast out there. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people doing coffee.
Go get it. I certainly don't know of anyone else, so you got to get your Nephilim Hunter Dark Roast. Very important. Yeah. All right. I think we had a SpeakPipe message, right, from somebody?
We did. It was from, let's see. This was Liquid Bacons. I have not listened to it. Hopefully.
Okay. Well, he knows the drill. He'll tell us if it's not.
Okay, here we go. Liquid Bacons with the message.
Hey, Canarians, this is Liquid Bacons. Just wanted to go and say that on this Wednesday, and maybe even Friday, well, in either case, this Wednesday, going to have a watch party for everybody in the Discord channel. We got 2 voice channels, so if it's booming, there's definitely just pick a channel and then watch and make Mystery Canary Science Theater 3000 or something about it. But in either case, it was awesome last time. And anyways, just throwing it out there if anybody wants to jump in, especially anybody who hasn't interacted with the Canarium. I know it's blessed my life a lot. And so, yeah, if anybody wants to make it, I know I'll be there this Wednesday and this Friday, most likely. But come one, come all, whether or not I'm there, of course. But anyways, have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye.
Thank you very much. Liquid Bacons. Yes, go join the Discord channel. There's also canarycry.community. We also have the Telegram channel. If you go to canarycry.party, you can see the links to join all of those things. Apparently, the Discord's really popping off. Canarycry.community is popping off. The time is now, folks. Go get connected.
Yep. Okie dokie. Are we going into another PSYOP?
Well, I was going to mention, we didn't see any art come in over at canarycry.art, but that's always a great place. If you are looking for ways to bring value to the show, if you're an artist or a musician, you can create stuff for us over there. Go to canarycry.art to upload that to our handy dandy spreadsheet. We'd love to feature it on the show. Actually, in fact, we had somebody send us, an anonymous person, send us a bunch of pretty good ISOs. You want to run through those?
Yes, let's do them. So yes, thank you, Anonymous, for sending these. These are fantastic. More of these if people want to send them. We love these, the ISOs. But it's basically a bunch of Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, Tucker Carlson.
We don't even need to name them as we go. I think you could just play them right on down the board.
Okay.
Because there's 12 of them.
Well, you just stepped on. You can't talk while we're doing it.
Oh no, Gons! Don't get mad at me.
Don't psyop me.
Oh, no.
Okay, did you hear that one?
No.
Gotta love AI.
It's good. It's a little quiet.
It's.
Generally speaking, Chinese people look Chinese. But what if you're a grifter who needs to sell ads?
What if, Tim Pool?
That one's good. That's a good way. Got to keep
That's
that
on
around.
YouTube.
That's Tucker Carlson right there.
That's on YouTube.
Here's some Alex Jones here.
The beginning of the rise of the Antichrist. You guys are in a lot of trouble.
That one kind of scares me a little bit. I feel like he's yelling at me specifically.
Straight to jail, straight to jail.
We've been needing some good Candace ones, so I appreciate these.
I'm going to haunt you. I'm going to haunt you.
That one will haunt me.
It reeks of an inside job.
Mm-hmm.
Aleister Crowley, devil worshippers.
Yes.
They're body snatchers. I am having trouble doing the show.
I hear you, Alex.
I think that's pretty much it. Though, yeah, there's this one.
Dang it. I think I was psyoped.
Thank you very much, Anonymous, for all those great clips. Remind me, if anybody can get in touch with our Big Dumb Mouth podcast guys, this reminded me of OBDM. They have the Alex Jones clips of the week. It's pretty entertaining. So I don't know if this inspired our anonymous producer or not, but if anybody can get me in contact with Magic Mike, Midnight Mike, or any of those guys over there, let me know. All right.
Oh man. All right. It's they're running it back, Basil.
A pandemic special.
Maybe we'll see.
I hope not.
Let me do this because it's way too late in the day and we can't get caught. We're gonna get caught, guys. But it is Hantavirus time. I will say,
it's haunting.
We gotta keep the I think it was PSYOPS jingle. In fact, why don't you play the I think I was PSYOP jingle? Just center yourself, everybody.
Wait, what do you want?
Play the jingle. I think I was PSYOP jingle.
I think I was psyoped.
There you go. This is very important. Talking about Hantavirus, talking about the cruise, lots of interesting things to go through. Let's start with Dr. Kory. Is this Dr. Pierre Kory? Is that what this guy's name is?
Yep. I think, I don't remember I think so. Kory with the K. Kory. Popular during the post-COVID era, or during COVID, I guess.
What actually kind of intrigued me more, tell you about what you said, is a colleague told me that there was like 100,000 articles written around the world on Hantavirus in the last couple of days. And that's not typical for a Hantavirus outbreak. Certainly there's always attention and people get scared, but like, that's the other thing with COVID. It was COVID 24/7. And then when you said in your intro about how it seems to be driven by influencers, I'm sorry if I'm getting too like I actually never want to use the word tin hat because I'm not a tin hat, but these patterns are anomalous. Why, with just this little outbreak of a few cases, suddenly like it's consuming the world's media cycle? Like, for instance, I'm on talking about it today. It's because it's being driven by something.
Dr. Kory's been psyoped.
Fifth generation warfare, the battle for the minds of the population, a war of narratives.
He makes a great point. I think it's a great place to start with this because I had a whole list of clips that we could have played. There is a very fascinating pattern, as Kory put it, anomalous pattern of the ways that the different sectors of media are playing this, because of course we're getting a lot from the mainstream media sort of telling the story of cruise and the Hantavirus. However, I've seen at least a dozen clips from mainstream cable news channels now where they will bring somebody on to say, oh, it's not that big a deal. Don't worry. It's not going to be like COVID. It's just, it doesn't spread like COVID. It's just a Hanta. It's okay. Don't worry. Like, there's a lot of like, bring the doctor on, say that nobody has to worry about the Hantavirus, right? The other side of it, on X, on podcasts, on the independent or alternative media, they seem to be the ones freaking out about they're going to do another pandemic. They're going to do another pandemic, which they might do. I'm not going to say they're not, but it's interesting to see this discrepancy in the mainstream media being like, nobody panic. We just needed to fill the news cycle with something. It's not going to jump out and bite you. But this is the other side of it, not even necessarily freaking out about any real danger, but about, of course, the pattern recognition of saying, "Here we go again" with the
lockdowns, quarantines, the whole gambit. Yeah, the whole thing.
Now, it doesn't help, and this always pops up and is anomalous and very strange, is a tweet from Soothsayer on X.
I am a soothsayer on X with a creepy looking goat PFP there.
Yeah, in 2022, June 10th, 2022, which was really still right smack dab in the middle of COVID. This tweet very simply says, 2023, Corona ended. By the way, posted in 2022. So they're looking
wrote
forward.
It in past tense.
2023, Corona ended, past tense, time traveler. Okay. 2026, Hantavirus. So, of course, there you go. That's proof there's time travelers. I don't know off the top of my head. I haven't chosen my own official stop date for coronavirus. I remember for some reason 2024 stands in my head for when it really was like over, people, the cultural echoes of like wear a mask and don't fly on planes. I feel like we're still around in 2023. I could be wrong. Doesn't matter. But of course, you always get your time traveling tweeters freaking everybody out.
Yeah, and part of the op, I guess, the PSYOP maybe that Dr. Kory was noticing, it's not just the news cycle, it's the influencers. Maybe this is the trend simulation at work here. But as far as I can tell, I've noticed a lot of just really bad takes get really viral.
Right.
Here's one of them. This is Mandy Arthur on X. She's apparently a Jesus follower and agency owner. I don't know what that means. I don't know what agency she owns.
Not a real person.
Yeah, it's probably a bot. She said, allegedly, this post has 4.5 million views, published on May 10th. So it got around. Hey, Grok, at Grok. Completely unrelated to the Hantavirus. What does the word Hanta mean in Israeli? Very concise.
In Israeli?
In Israeli, yeah. It's
not
very,
in
I don't know.
Hebrew?
Not in Hebrew. No, Israeli, okay?
This is an Indian guy. This is Patel posting as Christian
Hey,
mom.
it's National Technology Day in India, okay? We got to be nice to our Indian friends. And Grok responded. Grok said, in Hebrew slang, parentheses, as used in Israel, Hanta, and there's the Hebrew there, means scam, nonsense, lie, or something fake. Now, of course, this sparked, and I think this was not just on here. I think by the time this was happening here on X with Mandy Arthur, it had already made its rounds on like Instagram and Facebook and all these other places. But at least on X, this was the biggest post I can find on it, 4.5 million views in about a day. And so I was like, okay, I'm seeing it everywhere now. Let me check this out because I'm curious. Does it really mean scam? I mean, it would be very appropriate for the word Hanta and Israeli, whatever that means, to mean scam. So I did a little digging. I didn't have to go too far, but I made a post about it. So here's what I said. I said, Grok is wrong. Grok was wrong, but it's still very interesting. Grok appeared to be conflating Hanta with Kantarish or Hantarish. Standard Hebrew dictionaries define Hanta as she or it embalmed. It doesn't mean scam. The slang word Kantarish or Hantarish can mean nonsense, worthless, or sham. And that's likely where the confusion came in. This doesn't mean Hantavirus isn't a scam. The level of hype suggests that ultimately it is. Nonetheless, Hanta, meaning she or it embalmed, is just as fascinating considering, or because the practice of embalming is an ancient Egyptian ritual. It's where all the classic motifs of the mummy come from. So rather than Hanta, meaning scam in Hebrew, it refers to an ancient Egyptian ritual for preserving the human body for the afterlife, which I think is just as fascinating and interesting. And just for anybody who might be suspicious of that whole take, I did clip this Hebrews. It was like a language page that teaches you how to pronounce things. It's spelled in the English when it's like Romanized or whatever, Chanta, and here's how it sounds.
Hanta. Hanta.
Hanta. So Hanta, like Hantavirus. So there you go. I mean, it's not really getting a lot of traction because obviously this is not as cool as saying it means scam in Hebrew. And of course, your anti-Zionists are all going to really narrative.
It's not even in Hebrew. That's what I love too. It's almost an entirely fabricated nonsense post from the beginning.
Because Hantavirus
Israeli. What does it mean in Israeli? And then Grok responding in Israeli slang.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? What does any of this mean?
I know it's really nonsensical, but this is the kind of thing that is going viral on X, which again, to me, it suggests that it's something.
Views.
Yeah, 4.6 million views on this post. So yeah, something else might be going on. Now, the word Hanta, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, comes from Korea. Does it not? It's like a river in Korea or something where this thing was first found in the 70s or whatever. So, it's not even a Hebrew word to begin with.
Virus come from?
Yeah, the Hantavirus coming from the Hantan River in South Korea. So that's where they got the name. You can do all kinds of etymological twists and turns to make things work for whatever narrative, of course. But anyway, I thought I'd bring that up because I think it's important to point out because people will bring it up. If your friends, if you got a group chat with your best buds doing conspiracy talk and whatnot, and the Hantavirus gets brought up, somebody will mention this, and so you can
be the least popular person. In your
you can be the cold water on that whole situation there and get everybody back on track. Everybody focus up.
Another bad take going on is the fella you played when I was off the show a couple episodes ago. You played the video from the fellow who was very sad and wanted everybody to know on the boat that they are humans and not just headlines, and didn't really make a hard ask for anything. I'm not really sure who he was responding to, but
it was allegedly the cruise ship that was quarantined and on the whole deal when the virus broke out.
Yeah. In case anybody has not heard of the Hantavirus cruise ship yet. But you played the video, and as always, this is great. This has so many little connections that is really, really ripe and valuable for the platforms to just really crank it out. So that felt. Do you happen to have the video of him or an image of him?
I do. I can play a few seconds. I got a 42-second clip.
Play just a few. Let's just play.
I feel like I need to say something, so I wrote a few things down. I am currently on board the MV Hondius, and what's happening right now is very real for all of us here. We're not just a story. We're not just headlines. We're people with families, with lives, with people waiting for us at home. There's a lot of uncertainty, and that's the hardest part. All we want right now is to feel safe, to have clarity, and to get home.
Okay. Yes, we all want to feel safe and have clarity. I'm sorry, somebody seemed like maybe somebody was mean to him on the internet or something. So there's
more on him. I'll come back to him in a moment.
The internet cannot let go of this guy. They went back into his old X posts and found some like pro-vax posts, and so now they're saying he like.
Oh, you want to see that one real quick? He's wearing the exact same outfit, by the way, the hat and the shirt. It's 12 seconds long, guys.
I guess. Okay.
Vaccinated, gorgeous vaccinated girls get boosted, and gorgeous boosted girls get boosted again if you're eligible.
Now it's relevant here. People will post this and be like, look, he was working for Pfizer, or he worked on a campaign to get people to take the vax. He's probably just a normal gay guy, and they were getting vaxxed, okay? We can't. Everybody who promoted the vax on their Instagram, 5 years ago, I don't think they're all working for Pfizer.
Man, all of that. How bad did all those pro-vax videos age? You know,
Well,
man,
it depends. A lot
forever.
of people are stuck in time where they still think the vax was good. But so another connection people are making, they're calling him crisis actor because
Yeah, we see it in the chat here. Yeah.
yeah, back in 2022, I believe. Let me pull it up. Yes.
Yep. January 2022.
January 2022, people, well, there's this headline on this BBC, crisis actor conspiracy theory, how anti-vax activists targeted a COVID patient. And they have a image here up at the top. And admittedly, they both look like white guys that have beards. Okay. You look at them side by side. You know, if you had to describe him to the cops, you'd say, you know, he's a white guy. He has a beard. They do look similar. I will give you that. But the theory that the guy on the boat worked for Pfizer and was also a crisis actor back during COVID doesn't hold up too well. Number one, their names are different. The crisis actor.
That means nothing, Basil, in the world of PSYOPs.
Let's walk through it here. Henry Dine was his name. And now his name is Jake something. Jake Robert. Does it have his name on the on that other thing? Jake Rosemarin.
Rosemarin, yeah.
Yes, I'm getting his name here from this New York Post article writing about Jake Rosemarin and his very sad video that he made. Now, of course, names, what's in a name, okay? So I actually went back and found some old videos from the COVID era of this crisis actor from 2022, alleged crisis actor. He was actually on a news report, and he has a British accent. He's Henry Dine from where is he from?
The UK?
Yeah, he's from the UK. And he had a British accent on his BBC thing. He has an American, most likely homosexual accent in the current Hantavirus issue. Now, it's possible that he's putting on an accent.
He came to America, he turns gay. I mean, it's, you know, it's not unheard of. Yeah.
That he did he's like getting called in to do some crisis acting for the BBC. And he's like, this is the BBC. I got to put on a British accent. And so he puts on a British accent. And then just the American Hantavirus thing. I don't know. I personally, you want my take, I think that that's just some online nonsense, which is not needed, right?
Right. That's the big thing. Yeah. This doesn't do anything to prove anything for anyone. So I don't.
This is the alternative media. Like I started this whole thing out with, the mainstream media, at least on cable, is doing a really. Not saying they're doing a good job, but they're trying very hard to say that this isn't a big deal. Don't worry, Hantavirus. I know you're all scared. They're trying to calm people down. I will say, they might know that them trying to calm people down
freaks people out,
freak out even more, right?
Nope, that's exactly, I think, is yeah. They're doing the reverse engineering, the reverse psychology effect. Yeah,
but it's the
reverse psyop.
Alternative independent media who is really cranking up the alarmism on this whole thing. But who knows? I mean, we'll see. Here's the thing with these pandemic things. Only time will tell. Remember monkeypox? All the pieces were in place.
Everybody freaked out.
He even came out with a vaccine for monkeypox. It was a whole thing. Coincidentally, it was mostly for, as the news put it, men who had sex with men. I think there's a word for that, but I forget what it is.
Yeah.
So there you go. Don't get too hyped up about this guy.
I only get my truth from our Lord and President, Mr. Trump.
We will launch a new age.
What did he say? What did he say about this?
Like that, Guns. You can't get sarcastic like
Sorry,
they're
I'm
faster.
sorry. Yeah, I know.
Everybody's freaking out about the gold statue of Trump.
I know. I was about to say the gold statue. Yes, yes. I saw somebody write a huge thing about how the gold statue is not a golden calf. It was very
I saw that too.
But yeah.
Okay. What did Trump have to say about
Here's
Hantavirus?
Trump about Hantavirus.
Now, the one thing with this one is that it's much harder to catch. And we've had it for a long, it's been around for a long time. People are very familiar with it. So, I hope it's fine. All I can do is everything that a president can do, which is actually somewhat limited. But it seems like it is not easy to spread. In fact, it's in certain ways very hard to spread. We've lived with it for years, many years, and we think we're in very good shape. We're very careful.
I think the most compelling part about that clip is him saying, "I'm doing everything I can," which is actually not that much. It's like kind of gives away, like, yeah, I'm the face, but I don't really control anything going on here. Little for I don't know if you even call that a Freudian slip, but yeah, just interesting. Yeah, all right. Well, Trump's not worried, so we shouldn't be worried either.
Again, what is he gonna do? Like, that's part of the charm of Trump. He's like, yeah, I don't know. It's a sickness is out there. I think you'll be fine. I'll do everything I can, which is basically nothing. But okay.
I mean, he was the one that pulled trigger on the lockdowns and the whole deal last time. So
I think he wants to avoid that. I think what we're seeing is he's trying to avoid that because it's a sensitive topic for him.
Sure.
People. Okay. Now there are some weird things. Okay. Now let's dive in because as one of and I hate doing this. I hate spiking the ball, and everybody does it now, and it doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't matter that we reported on coronavirus in December of 2019. Okay. It doesn't matter. Okay, that we're months ahead of it doesn't matter. Stop bringing it up.
It doesn't matter that we said that they're going to lock down the world and demand vaccines in 2012. Doesn't matter.
2012. It doesn't matter. Stop bringing it up just because we talked about it in 2012. Okay, so in case you haven't heard, there was a cruise ship that caught Hantavirus. Now, in COVID, remember, there's this wonderful thing, and it was so great for sarcasm. It was so great that the global elites had actually prepared. They were ready, and just coincidentally, just in time, like months before coronavirus took over, they just happened to be doing an exercise. This is why we need to join the World Health Organization. Again, being sarcastic, everybody chill out. Well, interestingly enough, turns out you could have guessed that there was, goodness gracious, the World Health Organization in April has this headline, "Practicing Today for Tomorrow's Emergencies, WHO convenes countries and partners to simulate response to major disease outbreak." The World Health Organization wrapped up exercise Polaris 2, a 2-day high-level simulation exercise based around an outbreak of a fictional new bacterium spreading across the world, bringing together 26 countries and territories, 600 health emergencies experts, and over 25 partners. The exercise, which took place on April 22nd and April 23rd, allowed countries to test their preparedness for pandemics and other major health emergencies, including activating their emergency workforce structures, information flow, and coordination with each other, partners, and the WHO. That's pretty cool. Now, it's a little strange because this Polaris 2 exercise, tabletop exercise, did include a storyline in their cool game where it was spread on a cruise ship. A cruise ship sailing from one place to another was the sort of ground zero. I noticed, I reloaded this thing. They've taken out mentions of the cruise ship on the official World Health Organization.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not seeing the cruise ship part, and it was definitely there before. Oh, it's poor guys. Okay, so they ran an event 201 called Polaris 2 for a fictional disease spreading on a cruise ship. And they did this exercise on April 22nd and April 23rd.
Yeah, pretty
Now,
recent.
you might say, okay, that was last month. Well, when you take some time to look into the timeline of the MV Hondius, it was a cruise that began on April 6th. No, let me see here. A cruise ship began on April 6th. Oh, the Hantavirus. The cruise started on April 1st. Okay. And it departs
What a
from
joke.
Ushuaia. Yeah. April Fool's Day. It leaves Ushuaia, Argentina, with scheduled stops in Antarctica and South Atlantic Islands. This is the real ship, not the fake Polaris 2 Who ship. Then around April 6th is when the 70-year-old Dutch man started having symptoms, headache, fever. The Dutch man died on April 11th. On April 15th, 6 new passengers aboard the ship. I guess they brought new passengers on April 15th. On April 24th, that is when the first batch of passengers that had all the coronavirus, multiple coronavirus, Hantavirus cases. April 24th was the day when a bunch of the passengers disembarked. So they have April 22nd, April 23rd. Let's do a tabletop exercise. How will the world respond if a disease spread on a cruise ship? The next day, the 30 passengers are not the 30 of the passengers are let off the boat. Now, this is by then, they've been on the boat with a dead guy and other Hantavirus people, infected people, for almost 2 weeks. And they are let off the boat to start their journey home the day after the WHO exercise. Now, I thought to myself, okay, well, maybe they heard about the Hantavirus. Maybe somebody told the World Health Organization, earlier in April 6th, that Hantavirus was starting to spread. So they decide, hey, we got to do a little practice. We got to run a drill here. Let's see how we're going to handle this. Well, on the World Health Organization website, it says on May 2nd, 2026, a cluster of passengers with severe respiratory illness aboard a cruise ship was reported to the World Health Organization. So their little drill
story
for how to handle their little exercise to how to handle a Hantavirus outbreak or whatever outbreak on a cruise ship happening the day before they release a bunch of Hantavirus children on the world. You might say, okay, but by their own account, they did not have any reports of this until May 2nd. So they just happened. It's a coincidence that they were just like Event 201 guns.
Yeah.
A total coincidence that they did it before the plague got to spread on land. And so I think, well, they have two options. Either they knew about it and put on the exercise to respond, but then didn't tell the world for a full month and lied and put the world in danger for a full month, or they didn't know about it. Wink. We had no idea.
I'll give you a third option, which is kind of in between, a little in between both.
Uh-huh.
Maybe the people that organized and had that whole conference or whatever, they were told that there's, the simulation. This is going to be a really realistic simulation, guys. Just look out for it. And then,
That's
roll
not
out
out of the
whole
realm
thing.
of possibility.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so, because if there's a group that's beyond them, because like to the credit of that, the Chinese lady talking about everything's a psyop is a psyop. We target our angst and our hatred and our skepticism and everything to all the WHO officials, which rightfully so. They're not helping themselves by coming out there and saying things that they do, but they are at the mercy of whoever sort of is in the background, right? The people that really control the background, which we've always said, it goes beyond simply the people. It goes to the principalities and powers and whatnot. And there's always that spiritual layer behind it. But it's not out of the question to suggest that they would play some kind of Ender's game on these WHO officials and tell them, yeah, we're running this simulation, and then drop the real virus on a real cruise ship to see how they respond, kind of throw them into the fire kind of thing.
Yeah, what factions are kind of working in the background. I am not implying, by the way, YouTube and everybody out there, I am not implying that the World Health Organization had anything to do with this.
Well, the United States is no longer a member, so we don't have to cater to that whole thing, right?
I am pointing out the very interesting coincidence. Do you have the "That's Suspicious" jingle? Let's get that. Let's get that sucker going.
Let's see. Here it is.
Now, of course, Gons, no PSYOP would be complete without the magic number 33.
Of course.
Everybody is catching up to.
Yeah, everyone saw that one. Yep.
I want to, yes, the MV Hondas, by the way, we'll just start cataloging these things. So everybody get your 33 jingle button out, because there's quite a list actually at this point. Number one, the Hondas, now carrying close to 150 passengers, started out in Argentina on April 1st and was sailing north on a 33-day journey.
33 is the number of completion of the Great War.
Yep.
Now, of course, the best way to predict the best course of action is to look back in history. Last time something like this happened, what worked, what didn't? That'll give us some ideas. And it just so happens to be that one of the last major Hantavirus outbreaks happened almost exactly 33 years ago. And
no way. Come on.
33-year-old Hantavirus outbreak, which, let me just mention, pretty coincidental, also had 33 people infected.
What?
No, isn't that weird?
No way.
Oh, and by the way, folks, if you want to look this up, it has its own Wikipedia page. It's called the 1993 Four Corners Hantavirus Outbreak. An outbreak of hantavirus disease occurred in 1993 in the United States, primarily in the Four Corners region of Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico. On and on and on. Let's see here. 33 hantavirus cases in that one there. Oh, that's actually kind of interesting. That's kind of weird. People were noticing something kind of funky, Gons. Looking through the files, trying to see if we can find anything. Now, look, YouTube, President Barack Obama, I am not suggesting anything here. I am simply reporting on some things that exist in the world.
Yeah, sure.
Because, of course, the topic of pandemic comes up. We're all thinking about COVID. And when you think of COVID, you're thinking of the vaccine. And when you think of the vaccine, you're thinking of Pfizer, Moderna, these sorts of things.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to coin the phrase, instead of problem, reaction, solution, people should start saying problem, reaction, product, because really that's the cycle we're in. But continue.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. And so, if you remember, there was a set of documents after that whole hullabaloo that Pfizer really went to court, really went to bat and to court to make sure that these very precious super totally fine documents would not see the light of day in the public for 75 years. Now,
Oh, yeah. I was going to say
thankfully-
100, but yeah, you're right. It was
I
75.
think it was 75 years. Now, thankfully, we didn't have to wait 75 years for these documents because some people are pointing out that there's something weird on page 33 of these Pfizer documents. Now,
it's not. No way. It's page 30. No way.
Here's the thing. We are not going on conspiracy theory here. In fact, I'm here to debunk it. Sarcasm. Reuters says, fact check, hantavirus infection is not a confirmed side effect of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. Hantavirus pulmonary infection is a disease caused by some hantaviruses, not the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. Contrary to oh, geez. I can't do it seriously. Hantavirus is a disease caused by some hantaviruses, not the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. If you got to start the article that way, it's kind of weird. Contrary to widely shared online posts that misrepresented a document listing potential medical events after inoculation. Quote, list of Pfizer COVID jab side effects include hantavirus pulmonary infection, said a widely shared May 7th post on Facebook, which shared a screenshot of submissions Pfizer filed to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration in 2021 to get a biological license for its vaccine. It's weird. They don't mention the 75 years thing for Reuters here. It says the narrative. Watch out. Everybody's sensitive to this word narrative these days. The narrative was also shared on X, with one suggesting the COVID vaccine contained hantavirus. The reference to hantavirus pulmonary infection in the Pfizer document, which they do hot link to, is on the 4th page of the 9-page appendix titled List of Adverse Events of Special Interest. Now, that's interesting. It's kind of weird, huh? Because why wouldn't they just say it's on the 33rd page of the thing?
Yeah.
We do have access. All we got to do is do a little click. Oh, I lost my tab, so let me go find it.
There you go. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, no,
I Reuters tab. There it is. Okay. Yes, you click on the Pfizer document, and just like all those wild Facebook posts said, if you scroll down to page 33, right there in the middle, hantavirus pulmonary infection. Okay, so Reuters is saying, hey, we're fact checking here. We're very serious. Okay, somebody on Facebook posted that this was an official side effect. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to agree with Reuters here. The document does not say that this is an official side effect. And I gotta agree with Reuters here. Somebody on X saying that COVID vaccine was made of hantavirus or something, contained hantavirus. Not so sure about that. But on page 33, you got the hantavirus. So let's look at
so it's a list of adverse events of special interest.
Yes. The list of adverse events. We're all very familiar with the phrase adverse events, right? Yes, we are.
After
this
COVID.
is a list of adverse events after taking the COVID-19 vaccine of special interest. Okay, so these are the special ones. And
it's a huge list.
It is a horrifying list.
It's alphabetical order. The page just, this is worse than reading.
9 pages, single spaced. It's about 1,500 various adverse events of special interest. Okay, and look, you go reading down them, it's just got all the worst things. And
right in between the hemorrhagic vasculitis and Hashimoto's encephalopathy is the hantavirus pulmonary infection.
Now, Reuters, give us the truth here. Reuters says, however, this is not confirmation that the listen to the words that they're saying. Hey, it's on the list of adverse events of special interest. However, this is not confirmation that the vaccine causes hantavirus pulmonary infection, which is technically true. It's not
A spokesperson for Pfizer said in an email.
Right. A spokesperson for Pfizer said in an email. And look, nobody's ever watched a video of a Pfizer spokesperson talking to the EU Parliament when they said that they didn't do the safety testing. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, no, I'm wrong about that. Okay. We did all see the video of the Pfizer spokesperson say that they didn't actually test transmission or safety or anything like that. So, take the document for what it says, but it says a disclaimer on page 6 of the document makes a similar point. We should maybe look and see if we can find
this
similar
disclaimer.
point. Interesting how Reuters is not interested in giving us a word for word quote of what the document actually says. You read
Here
that.
you go. The limitations of this is directly from the link here from perma.cc. The limitations of post-marketing adverse drug event reporting should be considered when interpreting these data. Reports are submitted voluntarily, and the magnitude of underreporting is unknown. So
Well, it's not actually anymore. Harvard did a study because these adverse events were reported through VAERS. Harvard did a study and showed that only 1% of all adverse events get reported through VAERS. So, according to Harvard, whatever adverse events are listed in VAERS, you times that by 100, and that should be the proper reporting. But thank you. Go on.
I was going to say that this is not the case. Some of the factors that may influence whether an event is reported include length of time since marketing, market share of the drug, publicity about a drug or an adverse event, seriousness of the reaction, regulatory actions, awareness by health professionals and consumers of adverse drug event reporting and litigation.
The
That's point one.
seriousness of somebody's hantavirus. Okay, Guns? Sometimes hantavirus is just
Yeah. And after a marketing campaign too. So that, once people know about it, then people start talking about their hantavirus post-vaccine. Because many external factors influence whether or not an adverse event is reported, the spontaneous reporting system yields reporting proportions, not incidence rates. As a result, it is generally not appropriate to make between drug comparisons.
So the point they're making,
what are they? I don't know what they're saying.
The point they're making is, look, you look at the long list of adverse events that people had after taking the vaccine, but you can't use it for statistics because we don't know how many people per event experienced it. You don't know how many people got hantavirus versus myocarditis versus, they're on there because somebody had them. But, there's 1,500 of them. What are we going to count every single time somebody gets hantavirus? The document lists any medical event. Okay, so let's give them a chance here.
All right.
The document
This is back to Reuters. Yeah.
Back to Reuters. The document lists any medical event experienced by a person during the study. Okay.
All right.
So there's a period of time.
If they broke a leg, then
let's see what the period of time is here. Between December 2020, when the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine was first authorized for emergency use, thank you, up to February 28th, 2021. That's
3 months?
3 months. In 3 months, this
all those things were reported?
Obscene.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Even if each one of those adverse effects counts for one person, that's an enormous amount of adverse effects for the trial group of 3 months.
Well, they also didn't. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, they just said in that other sort of caveat document that anything that happened after the sort of the marketing or injection or whatever was reported. So again, if somebody broke a leg or something,
right?
I mean, I know this is more like a health thing over here, but breaking a leg, I mean, it's obviously a health issue. But so even those things were reported. You know, broken bones.
Allegedly, if somebody got the vaccine and broke a leg and said, "Hey, I need to report this to VAERS in case it has to do with the medical product that I just got," then yeah, they could have done that.
It feels like it was a both and, right? Because we know that they overcounted a lot of the deaths.
What they're saying is correct, right? That is what VAERS is for.
Well, I know that's what they're saying, but I don't know. It's just kind of works both ways, I think, in sort of skewing the numbers.
That's exactly the point. That is exactly the point. Is yes, what they are saying is not the defense that they think they are saying.
Right. Yeah.
It says here, up to February 28th, 2021, regardless of whether it was related to the vaccine, the spokesperson added, this goes back to the old story that the conspiracy theory that Pfizer put out there, that there were just thousands of people who took the vaccine and were totally fine, but voluntarily reported bad stuff to VAERS just to like sabotage them. Let's just go mess with Pfizer and go report stuff. At least that's what the spokesperson says. It was compiled using voluntary reports through various national reporting systems, such as the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, VAERS, in the United States.
Right. Okay. So they're working on it
more like that. They got every very possible slippery way to say that, look, yeah, we made a 1,500 point list of all the worst possible things that could happen to somebody, and we did legally have to include it in our document, but it doesn't mean anything, okay? We just put it in there because we needed to fill up more space. And on page 33, we just happened to mention
I'm looking at the clock, Basil. There's
we gotta get out
limited
of
time here. I know that they're working on a product, a new vaccine.
Yeah. It's just coincidentally, okay? We're not saying anything here, folks. But if you were wondering, because I know everybody's wondering, the question always comes out, oh no, Hantavirus is going to kill me. I really wish that there was a vaccine. Good news, May 11th, Wired, a new Hantavirus vaccine is in the works, okay? US-based pharmaceutical company. You got 3 guesses. Did you guess Moderna? Yes. Good job. You win. Confirmed. It has been working on the development of a Hantavirus vaccine since 2023. Okay, so they're a few years in. It's an mRNA vaccine. We all love those, and nothing to worry about.
It's gonna haunt you.
I'm gonna haunt you.
It's very good. All right, everybody. Gons has a family that he needs to make sure doesn't fall down a trash chute. So he's gonna go rescue them, and I recommend all of you do that as well. The PSYOPs all the way down. Everything's gonna be fine, folks. That's what I've been telling you all year. So just go ahead and listen to me. Thank you to our producers coming in with your time, your talent, your treasure, making the show exist. We couldn't do without you. And if you've never produced the show, might I recommend that you produce with your time, your talent, your treasure? Go to canarycry.support to help us out financially. Go to canarycry.art to make some art for us, etc., etc. And of course, a big thank you to all of our producers in the many ways that you do. Of course, thank you to Jam for heading up. Oh yeah, thank you to our timestamper. Gotta thank our timestamper.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Thank you, timestampers. We gotta thank Jam for heading up the Telegram channel. Gotta head up. Thank Adam42 for heading up the Discord channel. Thank you to Liquid Bacons for reporting from all of the communities. Go connect with him. Cool guy. Thank you to Joe for the feedback. Thank you to Clank for clanking. Thank you to Sir Ike for everything you're doing. Oh, I owe Sir Ike an email. I see you, Sir Ike. Thank you very much. And other than that, share the show, folks. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. This might be the most important episode of any podcast that anybody will ever hear. So go ahead and share it with them. We call it Rattling Cages, and all you got to do is walk right up to them, grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
Oops, wrong. Click a birthday.
Wrong.
Pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Guns, you got any last words?
Put on your masks. Make sure you quarantine from your friends and family. Stay inside for the next 4 years. And listen to Canary Cry News Stock.
That's right. Oh, it's this it? Do we make our comeback?
We make our comeback. We need a new pandemic to get another captive audience.
It's the only way we can get the show.
Only way we will survive.
Thank you,
Another
Fauci.
pandemic.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening
Joke,
to
folks,
this episode of Canary Cry News Stock. Make sure to be back. We'll be back on Wednesday, so tune in then. But until then, think outside the cage.
Don't fall for the Psyop.
What if you're a grifter who needs to sell ads?
Aleister Crowley, devil worshippers.
Straight to jail, straight to jail.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye!
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo.
Gotta love
I'm having trouble doing the show.
Sit you down to make you pay. I'll make it fat and sassy in my people's zoo. I'll make it fat and sassy in my people's zoo. Toilets! Toilets! You, yeah, you. You, yeah, you. You, yeah, you. In my people's zoo.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, companies, or cartels.
Canary Cry.